Yeah, hello and welcome to Simonheals. My name is Simon, and I'm just so delighted and honored today to be joined by someone who's become a very dear friend. I'd like to say for me is Celine O'Donnovan, and Celine and I have met, as I have met so many just fantastic people through a course that we've all been doing, put together by Mark Atwood. Now, I'm going to leave a link for this course below, because if you haven't come across Mark and this course, really, really highly recommend it in so many ways. So yeah, Celine and I have met through this course, and I'm really, found a very much a shared connection through our experiences in healing and what it is to heal. And so yeah, we thought we'd get together today and have that conversation, record that conversation, in the hope that, in some way that it brings some kind of, I don't know, some support and some wisdom, hopefully, that we have to share. Yeah.
We laugh nervously at that.
laugh nervously, yeah. I'm kind of a bit stuck for words, and that just kind of, just before I hit the record button, Celine and I were talking about how we both get a little bit nervous before doing these kind of talks, and how really, we aim to be just as authentic as possible when we do this. So my hand is up about feeling kind of nervous, and sometimes when I'm nervous I get a little bit kind of stuck with my words. But Celine, hi, welcome, good to see you.
Hi Simon, lovely to see you. And I put my hand up too. Authentically human. I could start crying, who knows, joy and all sorts. But yeah, it's such a joy to be here with you today as well. I know we were trying to arrange for a while, but these things happen when they're meant to happen. And like you said, yeah, I mean, it's just been such a wonderful journey really in the last couple of years. And like you said, with Mark's course, I have just this feeling of coming together with people that are part of the next stage of the work I'm meant to do, and the healing and the learning. And I've been learning so much from you and others. I'm doing Simon's Reiki course as well, and self-healing, which we can always talk a bit about, because that's a big part, really important part of my own healing journey now. It's like another phase of it. So I think it's always changing. That's the key, isn't it, for anyone who's watching? I hope, like you said, Simon, that it offers some support, maybe some wisdom, that you're not alone in this as well. Because I know myself, I felt very alone in a lot of my experiences. And maybe sometimes, this is a journey that we ultimately do alone, but we do need support. And hopefully the words we might say might resonate. My big passion now is just to share as honestly as I'm able to share what I've been through and how I'm still going through it. I wouldn't say I've got anywhere, other than I'm a lot happier. So I must be doing something. Something good must be happening. But it's just, I think we're all helping each other, aren't we? There's a beautiful saying, Ram Dass, the spiritual leader, says it, and I've heard a few other people mention it recently. We're all just walking each other home. And I think that's lovely, because I've had so many people take my hand over the years, particularly since cancer. And my dream really is, I was thinking about it before we came on, I trained as sorry, I'm going off a little bit, but I'll stop now so we could, but it just comes to me. I trained as a life coach a few years ago after cancer to develop some skills for myself. But I've really resisted the word coach, because I'm not a coach. I think of an American football coach. I don't feel that at all, or something, and shouting on. but I love that idea of just being with someone, you know, and maybe taking their hand and sharing what you've been through, because we're all just maybe someone maybe just about to go through what I've been through or something similar. Somebody else who supported me went through what I did. So I sort of, that's the whole healing for me. It's very fluid, isn't it? It's very, I know you talk about this a lot, like you don't heal or facilitating healing and what. So I think it's a really interesting topic, that you the whole area of disease and healing.
Yeah.
Hopefully can help people.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that has visited this channel before, they'll they'll know that my real focus is on the healing journey, both my own journey and being in service, support, guidance to other people on their journey. And you know, we talk about healing. We use the word healing so much. We talk about healing a lot, but I thought what would be really interesting for us to discuss specifically today is how do we heal, and what makes us unwell in the first place, you know? Because if we don't understand that, we can't heal, you know? And I think many of us have been kind of misled in terms of our understanding of what makes us sick, what a disease is, what causes that. And then so we don't really know what's needed to heal. And something that I think more and more people would agree on is that the kind of mainstream definitions of these, of, you know, how do we heal and what makes us sick, and the kind of mainstream approaches to those through kind of Western medicine, etc., are failing us, you know. So we're having to really ask these very important questions again, and try and find some answers, you know. So I thought that would be something that we could approach today. So, you know, from your own personal experience, because you, as you just shared, you know, you've experienced cancer, and you've experienced healing from cancer. So from that perspective, you know, what would you say it is that was the cause of that, and how have you gone about healing from that?
Good question. Still in progress. I suppose I was just going to say, that the whole subject of disease and dis-ease, as you've talked about, and I talk about it in my book as well, is really at the core of it. And it's really saying something if I just say to you that when I got the diagnosis in 2016, and once I got over the initial shock, I was relieved, and I went, oh, life finally makes sense. And that might sound a very strange thing to someone listening, but my life, I was just reflecting on it from right throughout my life. I always, I can't say permanently, but I had this constant feeling of almost being in fight or flight mode, survival, you know, more in the sympathetic nervous system, let's say. I had very little ease in my life, very little ease. And I can, you know, I plenty of happy times, but I'm just saying the overall, let's say, overarching feeling that sort of ran throughout my life from a very young age. And I can trace it back to maybe to being 2 or 3, my first feeling of that sort of anxiety, let's say, starting. I mean, I see it as being you're really living out of alignment with our true nature. And that, if I was to sum it up, you know, in one simple, but I had no idea what that meant. What does it mean to live in your true nature? And then what I experienced, I can look back now, was all the childhood stuff that we all experience you know, unconsciously, usually from within our families. It's just part of, it's the systems. I think the overall, now I would look at it and say nearly every single system that we operate within as they currently stand is pulling us out of alignment with our true nature. And that has been, whether it has been family, intentionally or unintentionally, or their circumstances. I never felt enough in my family. I didn't feel welcome. And I'm not blaming my parents. It's just acknowledging and taking responsibility. That's because I know now that is how I felt. So that started a pattern in my life. That was always going to be out of balance, because if you're not feeling your true nature and in alignment with it, you're already, you know, you're in a state of disease, let's say. So that ran through. And I'm really passionate now about the topic of all of our, you know, the systems that we live in and the traumas. You know, we talk about trauma so much. I sort of feel sometimes a lot of people I speak to get a little bit, you know, I'm nearly tired of hearing that word. And what I find interesting, it's interesting to hear your perspective on this as well, because yes, I had a lot of trauma in my body. And prior to cancer, just to give an example, so my way of living, I suppose I always felt a little bit out of sync. I didn't understand it, but I never felt at ease, you know. And in that survival mode, I felt like I was suppressing. I didn't know what I was suppressing, but something in me, like I said, my voice or who I am, because we're creative beings. It's that, you know, yeah, creative beings at our core. And I went to it, this is interesting, in the lead up to cancer. So there are many warning signs we get. And I'd say to anyone, you know, we're always, our body isn't the enemy, you know, our body, as we know, keeps the score. And our body is so intelligent and is trying to support us. So I had many warning signs before cancer, and that's just my story. But I went to a healer at one stage about a year before I was diagnosed, and I had gone to lots of people. And I said, I just don't know what to do. And I'm sure many people feel like this. I meet them. I just don't know what to do. Like, what's wrong with me? I cannot seem to function in this system. And that is how I felt. I'm doing my best. I'd worked so hard. I'd many great years, but I was at a point. And he just, all I know is this is, you know, he didn't say too much, but I left. And this is literally very close to my diagnosis, and I'm very grateful for it. And I came home and I went to go to a class, a yoga class that I did. And I sat in the car, and next minute, this tsunami of emotion just, I've never in my life experienced anything, rose from under my feet. And I had this release for about a half an hour. That continued every day for a month. And I had to ring him and go, I can't survive. What's going on? So that gives a sense of what was suppressed. And this was before I even got to the stage of dealing with cancer. So I think a lot of the suppression, you know, the systems we're in are all about even encouraging us not to feel, you know, everything is inverted, I suppose. That's how I'm understanding it now. Everything is inverted. So it's no wonder there is disease in the world. I hope it doesn't have to turn up in a physical illness, and I don't believe it does for everyone. That's just the story of my experience and what I had to go through. So sorry, I'm going off a bit, Simon, but so that there was sort of all those patterns going on in terms of disease in my life. And in terms of the healing, I mean, that's an ongoing process for me. And I'm very interested from your perspective as well of meeting people, because I wouldn't say healing. So that there was a point with cancer, all I can say is where a sort of a sense of surrender came over me. I just had to let go. I could no longer, I had no energy. I had nothing left in me. And that was the greatest gift, the greatest gift, because in that moment, I nearly get emotional now just thinking about it. Something greater took over. And all I can say is I came to sort of a sense of oneness with who I am and my creator, and whatever that is for anyone listening. It can be nature, it can be anything. We all recognize, I'm sure, a time of stillness and oneness and calm and peace. Think back to a moment in your life, and that took over. And that was me coming in touch with my true nature again. And I was really being supported to go, this is who you are. This is really who you are. And that started the journey of healing. So I'll stop now, because I just in terms of, but that was the start of a journey of just ups and downs, you know, and but wonderful, wonderful. Really.
Yeah, so really what you're saying is that what made you sick is this general sense of dis-ease, this lack of ease that you remember from a very early age. And that really comes about through the conditioning that we all experience. You know, that conditioning comes through society, through culture and religion, through our families, through our and also comes through our own experiences, because life can be really kind of tough, can't it? You know, and deal us some, you know, some tough lessons, and all of those combined can really create this underlying sense of anxiety, and I so agree with what you said about just brings us out of alignment with who we truly are, with our true nature. It's like we're born in connection with Source as these pure beings without any sense of separate self, you know, in this kind of pure unity consciousness. And then bit by bit, we're brought into the duality of this experience. And the more we're kind of drawn into that sense of duality and separation, it's that perceived sense of being separate that causes our suffering in a way, isn't it? And that kind of aloneness and that vulnerability and not being good enough and all these kind of things. And as you were saying, the systems of our society very much nurture those kind of feelings, don't they? They don't really nurture togetherness and unity and collaboration and support. They nurture competition and fear and aloneness, you know? And,
Absolutely.
you know, look at what's happened the last couple of years, where that aloneness for a while was made very physical, not just mental and emotional, but also a physical experience of being alone and being told that it's dangerous to stand within a certain amount of distance from each other and stuff like that, you know. For me, this is really the cause of disease, is this perceived kind of separation and the duality of this, you know, this 3D experience. And in some ways, that the kind of duality that we experience also offers us the opportunity for so many experiences, some very amazing experiences too, you know. So it's not necessarily all bad.
No, that's why we're here, isn't it? Sorry,
it is.
That's why we chose to be here. The human experience.
It is.
It isn't it to you know, as you said, I love this. There's an image of, and I know you know, you talk about quite a bit, you know, on surrender and resistance, and when we resist, and I'm the queen of resistance all my life, so it took me so long. I'm a very slow learner. That's why. But I get this image recently often of this. I loved it. I thought about it for the cover of my book. You know, the Nautilus shell, is it that old, the sacred geometry? It's like an old sea creature that looks like it. And then when someone described it to me, and I said, wow, yeah, that really for me resonates with the human experience of, you know, you grow and expand, and then you hit resistance because you're outgrowing that shell, and you have to break through that into the next chamber. And that's what that creature does. And I just thought, and that's infinite. That's that Fibonacci sequence, I think they talk about in sacred geometry, that pattern, isn't it? So that's, you know, when you talk about when does healing end, like, it doesn't, well, I don't know, who knows, but I don't feel it does. But when I'm finding on my journey, to anyone maybe who's facing into something difficult, is yes, there's always more layers and more to peel back, but there's more joy that comes with each layer as well. You know, we forget to talk about that. The pain, what I've noticed recently, and I've had a few little extra layers I've just been going through, they go, what I'm feeling is they move faster for me because I know what to do now, and I know to sit and feel it. They're painful, but they move quicker, and then I come out into this more expanded state. So the more we do this, you get better at it. It doesn't mean we'd never feel pain again, but you understand that pain does not last forever. Pain passes. And there's a wonderful book, I'm a fan of books, but just one wonderful analogy I loved from this book that really helped me going through cancer. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And he talks about pain and resistance and all of that. And he compares it to a thorn in your arm. So say you have a thorn in your arm, the choice you have, so that's your inner thorn. He talks about, you know, whatever pain you have the choice to pull that thorn out, feel the pain and be free, or you can go around protecting the thorn all the time and avoiding situations that are going to hurt it. Like, for example, you want to be in a relationship and you have this thorn, you know, around that, you know, you'll avoid going anywhere where you'll see couples. He gives this example so that you won't be triggered. And I just thought that's beautiful, because I spent a lot of my life not knowing that and and unconsciously trying to avoid all this pain. But as a result, I ended up in more pain. And you limit, don't you? You limit the possibilities. But that is the journey. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no judgment. But I would just, anyone who's watching and feeling maybe at the start of something, and it may not feel like a gift, but trust me, it will be a gift. It's always a gift, ultimately, because you take back your power, don't you? This is it. You take back your power. And I think that's so beautiful. I think that's what's happening now with the systems. And just one thing on that, and I'd love you as well, just on someone said it to me, because after cancer, the most difficult time for me was the decision to not go back into the system in the traditional sense of the way I was. And I know you've had your own journey with it too, but I found that the most difficult period, because I felt at one and at peace when I was in cancer, because I felt I understood and life made sense, and I was, you know, connected to my source. And then I was sort of being directed back to where I came from. And I was like, that nearly killed me, to people. Do you not see this? So I just said that's not easy. If we were living, and I think this is the times we're living in now, for any one of us who have come through, in a way, breaking out of the system, or on the journey of back to our true nature. This is what we all need to do now. I really feel this is the future for anyone who's feeling disease. There is no ease going to be found in the system as it stands. And I think the planet is waking up to that now, isn't it? You know, it's very painfully for many.
I sincerely hope so. I sincerely hope so. I mean, something that we talk about a lot is sovereignty, isn't it? And personal sovereignty. And for me, something, you know, very close to my heart is health sovereignty. I have a course online at the moment which is called Health Sovereignty, and just kind of offering people some tools which they can use to take that back. But this is so important. And, you know, like you were saying, that there was that point in your healing journey where you realized that you had to get out of the system. And it's quite terrifying, because from the earliest age, you know, we're taught to believe that the systems around us are there to protect us, to keep us safe and to keep us well. And something that we've learned the last couple of years if we didn't know before. I mean, I've known this for a very long time, but for many people, the last couple of years have really been a wake up to the fact that that is not true. That in fact, the opposite is true, that the systems are pretty much weaponized against us. And this really has been causing our disease. And some of that is in very obvious ways when you look, for example, at the kind of whole food supply chain, how that's being weaponized against us to get us eating and addicted to foods that are literally killing us. And then you look at the whole kind of medical system, which is almost a perfect partnership, isn't it? Sell us the foods that make us sick, and then sell us the drugs that are supposedly going to make us well, and etc. I mean, we could talk about all the different ways in so many ways that our lives have really been weaponized against us. So this health sovereignty and this healing from disease is very much about taking that responsibility back for ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it can, sorry, Celine,
just to say,
go on.
No, sorry. No, I was only going to say in your course, just when you mentioned it, and that's because I wanted to say that that's what really drew me as well to the course, because I think I'd mentioned to you, I don't say experimented, I dabbled a number of years ago, because there was always a calling within me. But again, the system pulled me, not saying the system pulled me away, but that's the way my life went. And what really I understood from my own illness and cancer is that everything starts in the spiritual realm first, like we talk about disease, and energetically before it comes to our bodies. When the Body Says No was another great book by Dr. Gabor Mate, who does a lot of work around trauma. And it's like the hidden costs of stress. The body is saying no, ultimately. And that really, when I listened to you, I really want to take, because I cannot say I'm definitely not an expert on health. I've looked after myself as naturally as I can through cancer, but I really was attracted to the self-healing aspect of Reiki and everything else that goes with it. And that's what's been hugely powerful for me, even in the last few weeks since I've started. It's just really, let's say, amplified or speeded up my own healing. And it's something I think that you're passionate about, and it's wonderful, and that you've been doing such wonderful work for so long, is helping people. I would love to support people identify this at an earlier stage in their journey of energetically what's showing up, where are their issues. And even in the length that I've been doing the course with you and working with a few people, it's amazing. It's amazing. There's a lot of commonalities in the type of blocks in the energy field or sort of disease that's there. And so I think that it's so important. It's really been very empowering for me to start on this journey now with self-healing, because it's an ongoing, isn't it? There's no accident that people can get cancer again, and other illnesses, unless we shift and take ownership and take responsibility for our lives and know how to do it. So that's why your course is so valuable. It's, people may say, yes, I do want to take responsibility, but how do I do that? I don't know how to do it. So it's wonderful to have the tools. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. So thank you so much for that. That positive feedback. It does really help to have that reassurance. I mean, I very much believe in what I teach, and I've been teaching for many, many years and seen some, seen people really flourish and blossom from that. But it's always good to have that kind of reassurance. This is the first time, though, that I've taught in any kind of meaningful way online. So I've been teaching about 12 years, and I've kind of always been teaching people, either individually or groups, kind of like mainly here at the Healing Center here. So it's been very interesting doing it online. I think one of the really powerful aspects of this is the sense of community that has developed with that. And because we're doing it online, and because in a way it's almost becoming like an ongoing journey that we're sharing together, that is as much a part of the healing as the material of the course, you know? And, you know, because of the nature of yourself and the others that have been drawn to doing this course, there's such authenticity, you know, and the opportunity for us to be with each other and share with each other in that very authentic way. And, you know, as you were saying before, our disease to some degree is in correlation with our disconnect from our authenticity, our authentic self, and that healing journey is back to authenticity. You know, I've always, and I like those words and I agree with them, and I always say that it's like revealing the Buddha self within us. Each of us is potentially a Buddha or a Christ, you know, and we often believe, you know, we live in this very kind of this world of consumerism, which basically comes from this fundamental belief that we are inadequate and we need to acquire something to make ourselves good enough, whether that be material stuff, whether it be knowledge, whether it's more food we need to eat, supplements we need to take, exercise we need to do, holidays we need. It's all about consumption, you know, which is really fueled by this innate sense of unworthiness that I think we have as individuals within the species. And so really this journey of healing, the destination, let's say, for me, isn't something that we get from out there. It's already there within us, and it becomes buried. We become buried, don't we, beneath all these layers of conditioning, of experiences, of traumas, of beliefs, of should do this, shouldn't do that, this is right, this is wrong. And it's like layers and layers and layers, and this kind of Buddha self gets buried. And so this healing journey is just pulling away all these layers, isn't it? And sometimes these layers come away in great big chunks, and we have these amazing epiphanies and enlightenments, you know. And then other times it's finer layers, but they're just as important, because sometimes those big chunks are just held in place underneath a finer layer, if that makes sense. So we peel another little layer away, and then that allows something bigger then to shift. So, and I think the reason I'm saying that is because, you know, sometimes I think on this healing journey, it can seem like nothing much is happening. And sometimes, you know, because we're so used to instant gratification and instant results, you know, so we have a pain and we take a pill and the pain's gone and we think that's healing. But that's not that's not healing, is it? You know, that's just hiding and masking. So true healing really takes, it doesn't have to, I want to say that it doesn't have to, but usually it takes a degree of time and perseverance and yeah, just really having trust and faith in that kind of process that we're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your faith must have been challenged so much on your healing journey, particularly when you were still had the kind of symptoms of the cancer. You know, to hold faith whilst you've got such a physical manifestation of disease must be so challenging.
Yes. If you mean during it, like going through it, is it? While I was in the midst of going through it, I didn't really feel that. It's funny. I don't know how to, you know, and I think I won't go into it all now because I think I've mentioned it before that I did go through conventional treatment, which a part of me hadn't wanted to. But anyways, I did, and I approached it holistically as well. But I think that's my journey, so I can relate to those who have. But I actually feel I can say honestly now that let's say the treatment, as they call it, was more a cause of my, let's say, feeling unwell than the actual cancer. I mean, I wrote about that, you know, I had no pain from cancer, I had no discomfort. But it was that was the journey that I needed. And I know I needed it because I needed to be pulled out of the system for about 2 years initially, so that I wouldn't run back, because I was so programmed and I was so out of touch with my true self. I was living in this sort of my nervous system, totally anxious all the time. So that had to be my journey. I had worked with a natural healer. I didn't need to probably go through the system, but I did, and I did. But so that was mine. But I love what you say about the undoing. That's been a huge revelation for me. As you said, we're conditioned to be going out, and you know, the systems, it's really interesting when I start to see the systems have a vested interest in keeping us returning, as you said, and consuming. So they have no interest in us getting to the source of what is going on. So we're always nearly, you know, it can be a bit of an uphill battle. And I found that the most stressful, I must say. I'm not talking about the people. There are wonderful people doing what they know best. But the system is just, you know, I found that the most stressful part of it. But that was part of my journey to taking responsibility and ownership and coming back into my power and being able to say no at a certain point. And this is what I'm doing. We all have to do that. And it isn't easy. It may not be the medical system, it may be another system that you have to, but I really believe that's the overarching, it's very strong in me now, this call back to freedom, you know. And I keep relating to that TV show Born Free. I don't know if you remember it, Joy Adams in Africa, and they took in Elsa the Lion. And that story recently just called to me, because I just thought of this little cub born free, and they take the cub in because her mother dies and she has to be, I was reading about it, domesticated and, you know, basically, in the system. And eventually they go, we cannot keep her, she'll die. She's not meant to be living like this. And they release her and she returns to the wild. And I sort of feel, I've said it before, the cancer like that was like the call for me to return to the wild and my true nature and come back to freedom. And it'll come to all of us at some point, doesn't it? I think. And then began the journey of learning to live free again. I wouldn't say I'm there. We've been programmed that, like you said, there's so much undoing and just peeling back the layers of years and years and years of conditioning. But there's nowhere to get to. I think that's the key. I love the way you say that the inner Buddha potentially within all of us. Or as Muji, another teacher I love, talks about burning away everything we're not to come to the exact same place that you're talking about. That's the prize.
And it is, I think so. And you know, we're often looking for new ways to understand things and new approaches to healing. but these very traditional teachings are still valid today, you know, of non-duality, of killing the ego, of living in the present moment, you know, and there's no shortcuts. We have to do the work. We have to do the work ourselves, you know, and it doesn't matter how many great talks we listen to, books we read, you know, etc. And there's nothing wrong with doing all of those things, but they're not a substitute for doing that work ourselves, are they?
No.
Are they?
No.
Something I'm kind of conscious of, I don't know how long we've been talking about, I'm kind of conscious of this, of the time, but so I wanted to say, you know, just to follow on from what you were saying, you know, sovereignty is also about not being defined by what other people think, isn't it? And this is a big part of what being free is, you know? And it's a big part of that getting out of the system, what, as you call it, you know, because the system controls, you know, the huge masses of people by getting them to care what each other think, you know, and police, and then we kind of police ourselves, don't we? So you have to step out of that and be prepared to be the odd one, maybe initially, to be prepared to be the one that does things differently. And for me, that's a huge part of the healing process. And so, and seeking alternative approaches to healing, whilst those are definitely becoming more and more acceptable, you know, and less alternative.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it can take a degree of bravery to do that and say, yeah, I'm going to step out of the system that's just really not working for me, and it's keeping me sick. And taking that
exactly, Simon.
Taking that leap into the unknown. So I just want to say to anyone that's listening that kind of really resonates with that and can identify with that and maybe feels at that point at the moment, that just, you know, take that leap of faith, because it's about faith. We often talk about faith healing. It is taking that leap of faith. And really, and I want to say this because someone said this to me years ago when I really needed it, was, you know, just take that leap, because you've got wings. We've all got wings. We're all angels. Beautiful. And we think we're going to plummet, but we never do, you know. And you were earlier on in the conversation, you were sharing that point where just when you broke down and you cried and cried and cried, because you actually got to that point when you said, I don't know what to do. And it's only when we really truly surrender, you know, that those wings suddenly shoot open like a parachute. It's like you're plummeting and you think you're going to hit the ground. And it's that point of surrender when those wings just open and you start to fly. And then it's almost like the Creator, God, is like, okay, at last you're ready. At last you're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk to you for the last 20, 30, 40 years, however long it is, and you just haven't been listening, and now you're ready.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
that's so beautiful.
So I think.
Sorry, just one thing to say. Like, to add, sorry, Simon.
No, please.
There was only one small thing just to add to that while you're saying that I love that about the wings is, and that's again, and that taking that leap of faith, someone described it to me like, I don't know, it's one of those one of the Indiana Jones films where he goes to save his father and he used to step over the cliff nearly into the abyss, and the stairs, I think, comes up to meet him. And someone I was working with at the time when I was very afraid after cancer, not afraid, but I didn't want to go back. And they said, you just, like you said, you just have to take this leap of faith and you will be, your wings will come out. And I can just say again, for anyone listening, it doesn't mean there won't be challenges. And it is a courage, it does involve courage, but you are shown every step of the way, you know, in another way. The biggest thing I understood after time was that you won't be shown some way down the road. The next step will be lit up for you. It's always lit up. And we have to, like you said, that surrendering and letting go, where, you know, that falling back into the creator does take over, and our wings do come out. We are the creator, so it's we're one with it. That's the recognition, isn't it? And I can veer out of that, and the ego can come back in and go, no.
For sure, it's an ongoing journey, isn't it? And every single day we wake up and we have to do the work every single day. At least that's my experience. Maybe at some point, you know, there's this grand enlightenment and it's bliss and nirvana forever. At the moment, I haven't found that, you know. And, you know, there's days where I literally feel like I need to scoop myself up and put myself back together, you know, but we have to do that. And yeah, I don't know, I forgot exactly what I was going to say. There was something you said earlier. Yes, you know, something you talked about earlier, which is so true, is that, you know, being healed, being healthy doesn't mean we feel great all the time. And one of the things that the system does is tell us that we've got to be happy all the time. And we've got all this social media now, which really encourages us to present ourselves in this very fake way where we're always happy and we're having like these incredible lives. And life just isn't like that, you know? Again, for anyone listening, if you are feeling, you know, feeling those emotional challenges, feel them, allow them to move through you, because they won't make you sick. But what does make you sick is when you suppress them, you know, and you put on the brave face and you don't cry, you know. And I think this new earth that you and I and, you know, our circles talk about, that we're moving into, is a place where we can do that, and we can hold each other and hold space for each other and be really vulnerable and feel safe within that, you know. And I think
so true.
I think to kind of finish this off, I'd love talking to you, Celine. To finish this off, I'd like to say to anyone listening that, you know, my role is to do exactly that, is to hold that space and to be there for people who are feeling vulnerable and in a way have got to that point in their journey where they're like, I don't know, I just surrender, I just don't know what to do, you know. And to be able to guide people through that unknowingness back, you know, and that is the healing journey. And Celine has written a fantastic book called Gifts from the Devastation. It's just the one book, isn't it, at the moment? Yeah.
Well, I have an earlier book, but it's a different book. It's about community. It's called The Tapestry of Life. It's sort of fictional, but not fictional. But that, I suppose,
I guess I'm right in saying that this is your way of supporting people, or one of the ways that you're supporting people through this piece of work.
And it's developed. Exactly, and it's developing. I have a lot of practical tools in it, and doing the self-healing course with you is now another aspect of that. And I really want to be a guide and a support, and to hold someone's hand and be there with them on that journey of discovering their true nature and sharing a lot of the tools that I use. And you know, so yeah, that's I think that's what we're all here to do, like you described, in our own unique way. You know, we all have a different a different piece of the puzzle.
In our own unique ways, but also in collaboration with each other, you know? Isn't it?
Exactly. Not competition, which the system would like us to, again, the collaboration is amazing. Yeah. It is part of it, because even, it's like building, aren't they, building blocks? And every time, like you described about your wings coming out, I have experienced a lot of challenges since cancer, but I have just experienced amazing collaborations. And this is the new earth, we're finding each other. It's energetic. And that's why I think your self-healing course is so powerful, because just, sorry, I don't want to go off on that, because we're coming up to the end of the time, but any of the sessions I've done with people recently have been distance, and the power of them has been beyond anything I could have imagined. So this is the world we're living in now, and the power that is. So yeah, it's future collaborations are the way.
Yeah. That feels like a very healthy place to end this conversation today. Yeah, definitely. And I've so enjoyed talking to you, Celine, and I hope for anyone that does watch this video and listen that it's been interesting and inspiring. And please do reach out to us if you feel that we can be of any kind of support to you, either myself or Celine. Our contact details are below. Do check out Celine's channel. She's got some fantastic material on there, sharing her great kind of wisdom and spirit. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.